What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
AFC South. Are you ready for the fight? Nighty night, lights out, no Tyson. About to be the clash of the Titans. Strike like a lightning bolt. You feel the ground pounding, that might be the coast. Quick like a joke, like to hit when provoked. Don't you doubt that. That's a Jaguar to a house cat. That's an outcast to a whole squadron. If you talking Houston, then we've got a problem. You'll probably get the horns if you mess with the cattle. Sit back in your saddle and get ready for the fan battle.
Is that mayo you're eating over there, Michael?
Oh no! No!
Are you kidding me right now?
No!
What? Are you kidding me right now?
Hey, this is a legendary, man. This is a legendary podcast.
What is happening? Titans fans. What's up? Welcome to the AFC South Fan Battle Podcast. My name is Josh Allen. Yes, that's my real name if you've never watched or listened to this show before. And I am joined today by a merry band of people who I think are as tired from a weekend of football as I was, because holy cow, what a crazy set of games for the AFC South this weekend. So joining me, representing the Colts, we have Chase Shumway. Say hey to everybody, Chase.
How's it going, guys?
Joining the Nashville Mayo Brigade, or representing the Nashville Mayo Brigade, Agent John Haw.
Was I supposed to have some mayo to eat? I'm sorry, I didn't bring any.
No, that's not your shtick. That's okay.
I can do it though.
We know that you observe the rights of your Mayo religion privately, and you don't like to do it on the air. So we respect that. So no worries.
That's right.
Representing the Houston Texans, a rare guest on the podcast, but a well-known name if you're in the AFC South Fan Battle group on Facebook. We have Dylan Cieslik. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. Happy to be back. Happy to be here.
All right, sweet. And lastly, representing the hanging on by a thread division leading Jaguars, Ammo. What's up, man?
What's going on?
All right, we already have one comment from, and I know who this is. It has to be Matt Briggs, because I don't know who else would say this. The Texan Fan Battle YouTube page says, "Get that Christmas stuff off of here." You know what? I don't care. You, Matt Briggs, and Sammy Football left me in charge of the stream today. So whatever happens is your fault, because you let the kids fend for themselves with no adult supervision. So happy to be here. Happy to talk about football. I, for one, am happy that week 13 is in the books and over. I stayed up very late last night watching my dumb team. But before we get to the teams in the division, a little bit of NFL news to cover. First, former Colt Shaq Leonard signs with the Eagles. I guess the Eagles have moved on from the Titans, and now they're signing former Colt players. But a little bit of a feel-good story there, I think. It seems like they parted ways amicably, Shaq Leonard and the Colts, and he's getting on with a team that is poised to make at least a little bit of a run into the playoffs, right? Like they're good, adding some depth there for them. So interesting to see Shaq Leonard. Chase, any thoughts on that, since he's a former Colt?
I'm actually happy for him. I mean, going to the NFC, it was between Dallas and Philly. But I don't know why he would want to play outdoors. He's normally an indoor person, but some similar stuff. He's got Nick Sirianni over there, so he's got some similar stuff going on over there, some former culture over there. But I hope he does well. I mean, I think his time was here was just done, and too many injuries, and he's making a lot of money for too many injuries.
Yeah, is Shaq Leonard still a good player?
He's good, but not great.
Yeah, I think I think it's really the injury bug, right? It's like how many games will he be able to play? Hopefully he won't get injured again, but that's what you wonder with a guy who's been through a couple of different surgeries and seems to seems to have lost a step a little bit. Age catches up with everybody eventually, and maybe a little bit of combination of injuries and age catching up with Shaq Leonard. But other than that, wish the guy the best. Like you say, it reminds me of when Fred Taylor went to New England, right? Like I hated it, but like I understood that, if I'm Fred Taylor, I still want to play football. And if the Jags didn't offer me a contract, they didn't offer me a contract. What are you going to do, right? So good to see former players that you care about move on. A little bit of AFC South news. The Titans have fired special teams coordinator Craig Aukerman. Holy cow. The disaster that was the Titans special teams unit on Sunday. You sort of understand why that move was made. Interesting. Do you think, Agent Hall, you think that fixes any of their problems, though? Or is that just one of those things where they're doing it because they had to make a move based on how bad the game was?
I mean, listen, if firing a special teams coordinator fixed all our problems, boy, what a lucky world we'd be in.
Yeah, I wish the Jags would fire their defensive coordinator, but people tell me I'm crazy when I say that. But we'll get to that in a bit. So last little bit of NFL news is the dumpster fire that is the New York Jets quarterback position. Last week I think it was the news broke that the practice window had opened for Aaron Rodgers to come back and start practicing with the team. A lot of speculations on going on as far as what that meant. Would he be back for a game soon? Obviously didn't start this past weekend. Rumor came out this week after the Jets lost that Zach Wilson didn't want to start for the team anymore. The Jets released Tim Boyle, who started for them last week. And we're trying to figure out who's going to start this week. And then, Robert Saleh had to come out and say that wasn't true. It just a little bit of a disaster. And I guess like as someone who's a Southerner, and just prone to the old tropes about the South versus the North, I gotta say I take a little bit of joy in seeing both New York teams being just a complete dumpster fire, especially being a Braves fan who hated the Yankees when I was a kid. It gives me a little bit of joy to see the New York teams just in complete shambles while the Jags are actually somewhat good. Any thoughts on that? You guys think? I guess here's the question: do you think Aaron Rodgers plays again this season for the Jets? I don't think he does. I don't see what he gains from that.
Point.
Yeah.
The only way he would play is if they were in playoff contention, and they're nowhere near it.
If they had like two more wins and they could play their way in, maybe. But
in one of the analytical websites, I forget which one it was, said that the Jets have like a 1% chance to make the playoffs at this point. So I don't know if you're Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. I can't see making that decision and coming back with the disaster that is the New York Jets at the moment. All right, let's get on to the meat of it, the thing people care about when they listen to this show, the actual AFC South game. So we'll start with what was a bit of a wild game. We're going to go in order of craziness, in my opinion. So the least crazy game of the weekend, the most normal game was the Broncos Texans game, and even that was a little bit of a wild game.
Came right to the end.
Yeah, right down to the end.
Yep.
Dylan, you're sort of known as an expert on all things Texans. So I'm curious to know your thoughts overall. Obviously, your team got the W, but what are your thoughts on the game that was?
I mean, it's been a theme for the Texans for it to come down to the end this season. I think that was the 6th or 7th game that's come down to the last 30 seconds. I actually predicted it would come down to the last 30 seconds, but I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought the Texans would be going for a game-winning drive, not the Broncos. So it was nice to get a little difference in there. It was a good game. It was back and forth. Derek Stingley showed up. Great game. Will Anderson showed up. Great game. Stroud had a nice game. It was good seeing the young guys, the guys who are going to lead this team for years to come, show out in a game where both teams are fighting. They had the same record, both fighting for a wild card spot. I think the odds were if you win the game, your odds jump up to 75% chance to make the playoffs. If you lose, it drops down into the 20s. So it was a huge game, a huge matchup. Both teams fought really hard. Texans took a hit with Tank Dell breaking his leg, out for the season. That kind of got a lot of Texan fans a little angry because he's, it's a goal line rush. He's a not big guy, and you had him up there in the box blocking. But what they don't understand is he's a wide receiver. That was he's on a corner. It was a design play for a receiver, and he's consistently, no matter his size, he's consistently one of the best wide receiver blockers on the team. So, I mean, they can't foresee that he was going to get hurt, and his size didn't come into play with that. He got rolled up on. The video shows it might have been dirty, it might have not been dirty. I'm not here to comment on that, but it no matter who was in there blocking, they were going to get hurt there. They got rolled up on. I mean, things happen in football. Yeah, you hope it doesn't happen to a young star like Dell, but you don't want it to happen to anyone. And, sometimes stuff happens.
Blocking's part of the gig for a wide receiver, right? Like, it's just it's a part of you can't completely isolate or insulate anybody from situations that are going to possibly get them injured, because the whole every situation in football, it's a violent game. It's a tough, violent game, and you're just, as we saw this weekend, across a lot of the teams, a lot of the games, there was a lot of injuries. Nico Collins seemed like he had a pretty good game, in light of, he sort of stepped up there when Tank Dell went down. So, as much as I hate it, the Texans are pretty good. And the Broncos were on a roll coming in. The Broncos offense had been stepping it up, and the defense, was playing decently well. But Will Anderson Jr. and Derek Stingley sort of said, "Hold my beer." All right.
Absolutely.
I can understand why you'd be excited about the performance of the young guys if you're a Texans fan, because nobody, including me, thought that the Texans would be as good as they are, as fast as they are. And I do wonder, I make this joke all the time, in some of the different chats that I'm in, I wonder how much the offense will come back down to earth when Bobby Slowick eventually inevitably gets a head coaching job. I don't think that you're going to lose as well as the Texans are doing. Eventually they're going to lose some staff to other teams poaching them. It's happened to the Jags last season, lost a couple guys in the coaching staff. So, and I'm not saying that CJ Stroud and the other offensive guys aren't good, but that always poses a new challenge, right? You get a new guy coming in. The Jags have seen with Press Taylor, taking over the play calling this year. It has been disappointing at times and a different output on the field than what we were seeing, towards the end of last season. So who do the Texans play next? Who's next on the schedule? Is it the Jets?
It is the Jets. So
okay.
When you were talking about the QB controversy and is Zach Wilson going to be starter, is he not? I think the Jets might be. I'm sure there's some kind of disconnect between Wilson. He's not happy being benched. He knows he might get cut after the years, so on. But I think they're also playing that little advantage of the Texans don't know. They don't know who to game plan for. Just a little bit of that advantage. Anything they can get. I mean, the Jets have a good defense. So, whatever they can get to help out their offense a little bit, that's really struggling. And, Texas is going into the cold. It's going to be cold, and it's supposed to be rainy on Sunday, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I saw an article saying there's several games, including the Jags game in Cleveland, that might be impacted by the weather that's coming in. So we'll see. Sloppy football makes for even more chaos. I'm not sure I can handle more chaos than what happened this past weekend. I think I said to somebody that I was talking to, I was like, if I ever have a heart attack, it's going to be because of my stupid football team. So just anyway. All right. So any predictions for that game? Who do you think is going to win it?
I think the Texans are going to win, and I don't know if it's really going to be close. If the defense plays like they played against the Broncos, they're just going to wreck the offense. And like I said, the Jets have a good defense, but really, I mean, you can't carry them that far when your offense keeps your defense on the field. I think the Texans are going to make turnovers, and that Jets defense is going to get tired towards the end of the game, and it's just going to kind of get away from them.
Yeah, I hate the words that I'm about to say, but I believe that I think the Texans are going to smoke the Jets. The Jets they're just dysfunctional all around.
Yeah.
I think the Texans are going to handle business. Unfortunately, as much as I would like to say the opposite, I can't with a straight face say that I believe that.
And I hope that's true because I will be there for the game.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, I forgot you're up in the Northeast. Yeah, so
yeah, I'm in Jersey. So
yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. Well, good. I hope you have a good time, regardless of the outcome. I hope you have a good time. And I'm curious because the New York, New Jersey teams always get a bad rap for visiting fans going in there and being given a hard time. So I wonder what you, technically being a native yet being a Texans fan, right? Because you're from. Am I wrong? Am I
from Jersey?
Yeah, you're from Jersey, right? So you're technically a native, but you're rooting for the enemy. So I wonder, I wonder what sort of treatment you'll get from the drunken hordes of New Yorkers.
Normally, it's not too bad. Honestly, like I hate to say it, but I like going to a lot of away games, and it's honestly a lot of Texan fans causing the issues. To be honest, I don't want to call out my own fans, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's I'm sure that's the case with a lot of traveling fans. I know that Steeler fans are just bad human beings. They're just terrible, degenerate people who cause problems in every stadium they go to. Their yellow towels carry Ebola, so I'm sure it's. I'm not sure. I don't think Texans fans are that bad, but I see
no, there's definitely worse.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on to the only divisional matchup that we had this past weekend, and talk about chaos. I happen to have the pleasure of watching this game. I'm going to allow Agent Ha to go first because his team did not come away victorious. What a wild game. I'm going to shut up and let you guys talk about it. Agent Ha, what are your thoughts on what happened on Sunday?
Well, like you said, it was wild. I mean, this was one of those things. This is one of those games where it's like both Titans and Colts. Like you can look at any one play and be like, wow, that swung the whole game. Like there's like 6 or 7 of those like plays where it's just like, oh yeah, this would be a completely different result if that play didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like the 2 block punts. Okay, that swings the game, right? The 2 point, what is that? What is it? The interception on the 2-point conversion. What is that? What is that called?
A pick two.
A pick two, yeah.
Yeah, whatever that is. Like that, it's like, whoa, all of a sudden here we are. You know what I mean? The missed extra point on the touchdown the Titans had. Because it's crazy. It's crazy how many different things. Because the punter goes out, right? I think they were blaming Tannehill for like as the holder of that, but I don't know. It didn't look like it was Tannehill's fault. It looked like it was just straight up miss. But it really was like an insane kind of game. I thought for sure we were gonna get like smoked. I really didn't think we had much of a shot. So as a fan of the team, it's fun to watch them, actually stay competitive, but there's also like runs the gambit for me where I'm like watching the team. Like I was like, hey, we have to actually win this thing. And then when we got to overtime, as soon as we got a field goal, I was like, okay, well, I already know we're just going to give up a touchdown. This secondary is just completely like just atrocious. And you're putting the Colts in a position to have to score a touchdown. And of course, Minshew was just going to throw it deep. And of course, Pittman was going to be there. It's just, you just kind of knew. So it's almost bittersweet because like, at this point in Tennessee, really all we can do is try to get a better draft position. That's really all we can do. But even then, I don't know how great that's going to be because the Patriots are thinking the same thing too. So I don't know. It sucks to lose, but at the same time, it's probably better that we lost.
It's one of the few games I've ever seen. It's one of the few games I've ever seen that looked like a real life game of Madden, right? Like look like.
It was crazy.
Crazy plays. I've never, the 2-point conversion getting intercepted in return, like just all the different crazy things. Is your punter alive? Has anyone checked on him? Is he?
I think he had surgery today or something like that. He is done for the year though.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
He's
I've never
good,
seen.
He's a hell of a what are the hell of a like punt. His leg is insane. He bombs those things.
Yeah, and he's not one of those like tiny kickers. Like he's a large man. Like he's a large football sized man. And
that's too bad. I hope it doesn't really care because he really we got rid of Brett Kern for this guy because he really earned that position. He came in and in the preseason last year and just completely took out like Brett Kern. Like they were just said, okay, great, he's our guy. And Brett Kern was a really good punter. So like they just said, oh no, okay, this is our guy. And he was really, really, really good. Which I don't know how like how much value you or how much stock you put in your punter being good, but they are part of the team, and he is really good at what he does. So I'd hate to see that kind of be a long-term effect, or have that just pretty much like end his career, because we won't know until next year. So
that's crazy.
Hope he's all right, just as a person. You don't want anyone to be
sure.
hurt, but yeah, it was a crazy game. I imagine if you were at that game, that'd be a hell of an experience. Those are the kind of games I dream about going to. You want to be on the winning end as a fan, but even still, if you're at one of those games, you're like, wow, that'd be a great time.
Yeah, a lot more fun than like a 10-9. But I mean, I love a good defensive battle. But
those games. Yeah, if I end up going to the game, I usually find those ones. It's usually just horrendous games for me. But so you guys.
Yeah.
But this team is what it is. Their offensive line is just atrocious. Their secondary has been bad, but it really showed. The defensive front just can't stop the run anymore. I remember not that long ago, we used to be able to never let a team run, ever get over 100 yards on the ground. And now it feels like we don't even try. It's tough. I feel like Danico Autry is the only guy who's capable of getting a sack anymore. It's tough. This team is just really going to have to make some decisions in the offseason.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Simmons went out with a knee injury, right? He's supposed to be out a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he went out. He came back in after the injury, but then the training staff, I guess, pulled him. They just said, no, you're not going back out there. Vrabel spoke to me, I think it was either today or yesterday, and they just said they're not too worried about it. They're just kind of taking it day by day. Henry left the game. He was in concussion protocol, but they said he's been cleared right now, so they're just going to keep an eye on him. Those are the three major injuries. The punter's done. Henry is kind of like everything looks good right now. They'll see how the week goes, and Simmons is just kind of taking it day by day.
What are your thoughts on your Mayo Messiah, Will Levis?
My Mayo, listen, I was never crazy about him to begin with. I think he's done better than I was expecting. I wasn't one of those people that was just like, yes, Will Levis is the guy. Will Levis is the guy. I was cautious about him to begin with, because how many times did they keep putting Malik Willis on the depth chart ahead of him? So I was just like, He can't be that great, but he's definitely outperformed my expectations. I think if he had an offensive line, I would be more curious to see what he could do, because when they do give him time to throw, which is maybe once a game, he can make some throws. Like he's not afraid to put it, he's not afraid to put it in harm's way.
Yeah, he's got a strong arm too. He's not what do you have to worry about not being able to make the throws, right?
I love seeing that play where it's that was another play too that could have swung it too, where he freaking throws the pick, but then forces a fumble to recover his own pick. Yeah.
Such a wild game.
That attitude out of a quarterback too. I mean, that's another one. It's like, what's going on here? That could have changed the whole game too.
Well, he's a big dude.
Yeah, I wasn't rooting for the Titans. I think that's the Titans or the Colts, really. I didn't care that much. But I think it's the first time I've ever had fun watching the Titans or the Colts play. That was a fun. If it's not your team that's getting injured and going back and forth, those games are so fun to watch when you don't have
it's like that Chiefs Rams game a few years back, the Monday night game, where it's I don't care about either team, but my goodness, that was a great game, because it was 54-55 or something, and there's 3 defensive touchdowns, so it's everybody was just going nuts.
Yeah.
And this was one of those games where it was there were plays made on defense, plays on special teams, plays made offense, both ways. It's an exciting game if you don't have any stake into it, but I think overall the correct result for Titans fans is there. I know Titans fans are you want to win every game, but it's bigger picture. At this point, just pack it in. It's okay. Let's try to get something. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is still out of reach for us, but I can still dream.
Yeah, and your schedule, doesn't get any easier next week because you guys play the Dolphins.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. I think that we are going to. There's a real possibility that the Broncos can sort of not feel as embarrassed in a little bit. We might give up more points than the Broncos did to the Dolphins.
I don't know about that. I think that Broncos Dolphins game was such a fluke, man.
No,
I don't think
there is no chance that anybody on our team is going to be able to cover Tyreek Hill. Who on our team would be able to stop Tyreek Hill?
But there is a little bit of hope, because Tua was on the Manning cast. And the Manning cast is what cursed the Jags. before we played.
I don't believe in curses.
Maybe.
And there's a couple other teams that have gone. They've had a player go on there, and then they've just been beaten very badly the next week. So now there's this, conspiracy theory that the Manning cast is cursed.
This is my week to break the Manning cast curse. Yeah. This is it. Titans will do that.
I don't think it's going to be that bad, like as bad as the Broncos, only because this late in the season, I think they're going to bench their starters like maybe midway through the third quarter.
Slightly tongue-in-cheek, but like the way that our defense is and the way that their offense is, there's no reason they couldn't score 80 on us.
God, that would be – I mean –
first play from scrimmage, I guarantee they take a deep shot to Tyreek Hill. First play. I guarantee it. Just watch.
They should, absolutely.
Yeah.
So listen,
like, okay,
I'm
first
torn.
play, let's call it up. Just go deep. We'll throw it deep. I mean, there's nobody that can stop them.
I'm torn, though, because I want the Titans to lose, but I love a good conspiracy theory come true. So I would love to see this Manning cast curse to be a real thing. At least enough for it's something that people continue to talk about, right? Like, I don't think it's a real curse or whatever, but it would be hilarious if the Titans found a way to beat the Dolphins. Yeah, there's the conversation about the Manning cast curse, I think, has been pretty funny. All right, so what is it, so how many, like, do you think that they'll actually put 80 on your team, or like what's your actual prediction? Like, what do you think the score
I mean, I'm not one to like I never predict scores because I don't know, I think it's meaningless and just whatever, but yeah, I mean, we're gonna get hosed. It's gonna, or not hosed, they're just gonna kill us. It won't, like, this thing will be over by the end of the first quarter.
I think it's probably a 3-touchdown victory for the Dolphins. I think.
Easily. I don't know what the line is. I like to look at the Vegas lines on those, but I bet it's like, who was it that had the biggest one like in history the other day? Wasn't it the Cowboys that were like 16-point favorites maybe like a few weeks ago? That was like one of the biggest point spreads. You got to think we're at least like 11 and a half would be, I'd say, is like the spread on that. But
yeah, let me see if it has it on.
Yeah, I think you guys might be competing with the Cowboys, to be honest. 13 and a half.
13 and a half.
I would take the over.
Yeah. You think we're going to be competing with them? I'll tell you what, here's what I think. I think they will definitely be trying to compete with them, but they will not be able to.
Yeah, I think I don't know how good the Dolphins defense really is, right? Like,
doesn't matter.
I just wonder if Will Levis has shown a little bit of hope, right? Like, I just wonder if maybe they get lucky.
That's the biggest problem is, like, you can have the worst defense in the world. Your defensive front will be better than our offensive line. Like, no matter the worst defensive front in the entire NFL is better than our offensive line.
That's true, because the Jags defense, which is terrible, dominated you guys. So point taken.
You will dominate, or anybody will get to the quarterback. It'll happen. So that's why it's like what I think of Will Levis. I'd love to see what he can do with an offensive line, because at this point most of his throws are desperation throws. So it's like when they can protect, he was actually, I mean, the best he ever did was his debut against Atlanta, where it's like for some reason we were actually able to get him some looks, but I don't know what he looks like going through his progressions too much because he doesn't have time.
Well, the Jags need a good backup. Maybe we'll make a trade in the offseason. He can come down to Jacksonville, bring his mayo flavored coffee with him. All right, Chase, you've waited patiently. Your team was victorious on Sunday. Give us the Colts perspective on the mayhem that happened this past Sunday.
Minshew mania. Oh my goodness. You had everything about him that day. Like, my goodness. I mean, like the first drive, our defense didn't wake up. You guys just go straight down with Derrick Henry, ran all over us. Heck, you guys had 177 rushing yards ever since Grover Stewart got suspended for 6 games. And he's back this week. Thank you. Finally, we might be able to stop the run now. Yeah, I mean, we stuck with Jonathan Taylor mostly out for the next 3 to 5 weeks with a thumb. You can still carry the ball without a thumb. But yeah, Gardner was just ripping it down, and Alec Pierce woke up, had a great game. He had 2 great catches down deep. Finally, we threw the ball down deep. I don't even think we throw the ball that deep that much at all this season. I think we're one of the worst teams that going over 20 yards. But still, you had
the right defense.
Yeah, our defense. We had 5 or 6 sacks in this game too. We're second in the league in sacks this year. But somehow with our crazy cover 3 Gus Bradley defense.
Yeah, it seemed like DeForest Buckner had a pretty decent game for you guys.
He did. Quiddy Pay, Deo. Somehow our corners are staying in there with Baker and Jones. Kenny Moore in the slot is doing better than last couple years. Zach Moss, only 51 rushing yards. I mean, if you guys have to agree with me. Shane Steichen has to be considered for probably Coach of the Year this year.
I don't have to agree with anything, sir.
Or at least be one to be considered. I mean,
no, I agree.
Having Jonathan Taylor, that drama, Richardson going down. I mean,
well, enjoy your victory while it lasted, because apparently you guys play the Bengals.
We play the Bengals, yes.
Who have I think they cloned Joe Burrow. I don't think that man actually existed. I think they got Joe Burrow, they cloned him. I think that guy the Jags played last night was just Joe Burrow's clone, because dear God,
they just swapped arms.
Yeah, they just So it's
in Cincinnati, a 1:00 game. Yeah, Joe Mixon, he ain't running on us. Someone's gonna have to guard Chase, Boyd, and Higgins.
Listen, Chase, be careful, because Jags fans were saying that Joe Mixon wasn't going to run on our defense either, because the strength of the Jaguars defense all season has been their run defense. Right. And Joe Mixon literally made them look like they were a junior high.
He had his best game.
Chase Brown made them look like a junior high.
He had his best game all year. I think that's the only time he rushed for 100 yards or close to 100 yards this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wish you better luck than the Jags had, except for no, I don't, because you're in my division and I hope you lose.
You wouldn't think one guy makes a difference, but somehow Grover Stewart makes a big difference in that middle.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I was very confident that the Jags, defense wasn't going to have a whole lot of trouble with Cincinnati's offense, but here we are, and we're going to talk about.
I thought the Jags were going to cream you guys, or you guys were going to kill Cincinnati.
I didn't think we were going to kill them. I thought it was going to be like a comfortable 13 point victory, right? Because this Jags team just isn't. I thought what we were. Anyway, we'll get into it in a minute.
Yeah.
So what's your prediction for the Colts Bengals game?
Oh, most of our games have been coming down to it too. I mean, except for the New England game, we've always scored over 20 points. Man. I think it's going to come down to a field goal again.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like a 27-24. I think we pull it off. I think we got the better kicker.
Well, I sincerely hope you're wrong. So
you can say all you want. I mean, look at the rest of our schedule. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh without Kenny Pickett.
But that might be better for Pittsburgh.
That's better.
Come on, it's Trubisky.
Yeah, but it's also Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett's that bad.
But don't forget, no Matt Canada anymore either.
Yeah,
right.
But and then you got what? The Raiders. And Ammo, you guys, last time I was on, you guys laughed at me when I said the Texans and Colts game at the end of the year could come down to a playoff game.
It's true.
And now it might come to that.
And even though you might be right, I'm still laughing at you. I'm laughing at anyone who says that, because it makes me angry, and my deep my deep hatred for how things have gone so far this year from my team, at least in the last couple of weeks over the last 4 weeks. I'm not going to be happy for you, Dylan. I'm sorry, or not Dylan, but Chase. I'm not going to be happy that you were right. I'm not. I'm just not. It's just not happening.
It's okay.
All right, so moving on to whatever in the world it was that happened yesterday. I'm still not sure that I have ever witnessed a game quite like the one that happened yesterday here in Jacksonville. It was nothing like I expected. I'm going to let Ammo talk, and then I also have some thoughts, even though technically I'm your unbiased host. But Ammo, lay it on us, man. What happened?
Do we have to talk about it?
Unfortunately, we do.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the offense was doing pretty well. But the defense, I don't think even got off. They even show up at the stadium at all. Devon Hamilton probably should be shut down for the year because he just doesn't have power right now. Tyson Campbell probably should not have come back either. That hamstring is definitely affecting his technique. Rayshon Jenkins made probably one of the worst tackling attempts I've ever seen in my life. Devin Lloyd literally looked like he's never played football before yesterday. Multiple times he had somebody else trying to line him up, and you are a professional football player at this point. You're not a rookie anymore. Like, dude, something's got to give. Something has got to give. There were too many people that had no idea what they were doing and had other players getting themselves out of position to put other people in position. And we made Jake Browning look like prime Tom Brady. And that is just one of the more disgusting things that I've ever seen. And I'm not trying to discredit the kid because he had a great performance. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, like, over 300 rush or passing yards. That's just disgusting. Joe Mixon ran all over us. Chase Brown ran all over us. Just defensively, nothing that you could look at was positive besides Josh Allen, which I think he's now starting to build his case for Defensive Player of the Year. He's kind of been up there, top 5 in the sacks for pretty much most of the season. Adds an interception to his resume on one of the dumbest passing attempts I've ever seen. I don't know if Tyler Boyd is blind or he just wanted to throw it. I really don't understand what was going through his head on that one, but I'll take it.
I think it's a prime example of why you don't have a non-quarterback throw a pass, right? Like, it's just
but I mean, that's like such a short pass. You should be able to make that one. I mean, Josh Allen isn't like a 5'10" nickel corner. He's a 6'5" defensive end. I don't know how you don't see him.
He's hard to miss, and he's not as fast as a cornerback. I don't understand how just that was, it was right in his hands.
Yep. Yeah. Brandon McManus missed a field goal that would have been a huge difference maker for us. My wife said to me she was getting pissed off at him for his kicks, and I said, he's made all 4 of the extra points. What are you talking about? She's like, they just weren't good enough for me. I'm like, what? And then she said this like 2 seconds before he kicked the field goal that he missed. And I said, you put that out in the universe. You put that out.
It's your fault.
So
I actually know what caused. I know what caused the problem. As I have said for several weeks on this show, Houston rap sucks. It's not very good compared to other genres and geographical regions. And there were several Houston rap songs that were played during warmups and during the game. And our own host, Sammy Football, was dancing to these Houston rap songs. This god-awful music is what cursed the team yesterday and caused the Jaguars to implode upon themselves like a dying star, at least on the defensive side of the ball. The flip side of that ammo is the offense was cooking. Like Trevor Lawrence was on track statistically for what was possibly his best performance ever in a couple of statistics. And then, I think Brandon I wonder, and I don't know, and this is not an excuse, like, you got to make the kick. You could tell the stadium, the crowd, the looks on the players' faces, the air came out of the whole place, and everybody was shocked when Trevor Lawrence went down, right? And you got to wonder if that's in the back of everybody's head. Oh no, because as much as I like CJ Beathard, he's a good dude. He's not Trevor Lawrence, right? That's why he's not starting. He does not have the same skill set that Trevor does, and Trevor was making some throws that were just stupid good.
He did have a couple misses on some ones that could have resulted in some pretty big plays. Like there was one to Zay that he was just a little off on. And there was like 1 or 2 more that, but I mean, I think he was still like 22 out of 29. So it's not like he was throwing a lot of incompletions. He was looking really good. But that injury was tough. I saw it, and when they replayed it back, as somebody who's had ankle injuries before and stuff like that, like my wife was like, oh my God, he's done. It's broken. Everything is over. I said, looking at it, I said, that's not broken. I've rolled up my ankle plenty of times. It was the ligament damage that was going to concern me. So getting the MRI today to find out that it's a high ankle sprain. He hasn't even been ruled out for this week. I would like for him to sit, honestly. That was nasty enough of an ankle injury that I will take the chance on taking another loss and evening up the division if it means getting Trevor right for the last 4.
Yeah, especially with the Ravens being the game after. They play the Browns this week, and then it's the Ravens. So I'd rather rest Trevor for the Ravens game and see what can happen against the Browns this week. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and then Christian Kirk.
That was tough. I honestly thought he just squished the beanbag for a second and he'd be up in a couple seconds, but then I realized after he was down for a couple more seconds that I was like, oh no.
Yeah, because he's also like Trevor. He's not a guy that has missed a lot of time with injury. He's been pretty resilient his whole career. So then there was just so many injuries.
Trey Herndon concussion. Foley Fatukasi got hurt.
Yeah, but
Little,
Foley Fatukasi getting hurt. Water is wet, sky is blue. I love the guy. But when he's in the game, he's great. But like when he, every other game, dude's coming out of the game or missing a game. Like
absolutely.
Come on,
Cisco left for a little bit, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was kind of awkward. I was trying to see like with that tackle, like really what did it, but it was a shoulder thing. He ended up coming back, so wasn't that bad.
Walker Peterson Little today, he was fine. Supposedly his shoulder's completely fine. Yeah.
Little's hamstring had some.
It was Walker Little that stepped on Trevor, right?
Yep.
And I think they said it was that same play where he tweaked his hamstring, supposedly.
No, he Doug Peterson in his Zoom call this morning said that Walker Little hurt himself earlier in the game. But he came back and was playing. I think kind of after that he was taken out. Everybody at first was blaming Walker Little for Trevor Lawrence, but some video came out like you see Trevor frustrated at something before he's frustrated at the injury. And then you look back and you see he's about to throw it to Parker Washington in the slot on the left side of the field. Parker Washington maybe didn't understand what he was supposed to do there or was running the wrong route, miscommunication. He was supposed to sit. Trevor tried to throw it. He pulled it down. As soon as he pulls it down, he gets wrapped in that awful way in the pocket. So it's kind of Parker Washington being not on the same page there that ended up causing that, in addition to Walker
Trevor let Parker Washington have it a little bit as he was in pain there, like sort of let him know.
Yeah, well, that adrenaline was going before the pain kicked in. Yeah.
Yeah, and Parker Washington had, an interesting game. Big catch for the touchdown, but then muffs the punt. Luckily, it was recovered by the Jags. So he couple of big moments and a couple of costly ones.
He wanted his name being said. He hasn't gotten much of an opportunity this year. He did everything he could, positive or negative, to keep his name being talked about throughout that one.
Is he going to fill the Kirk role?
Yeah, I would say he's
probably. I don't know who else would, right? Except maybe Zay Jones, but
Zay
Jones is more of an outside
season, right?
They didn't say out for
somebody in the year.
No one said confirm that. Doug Peterson said he will miss time, and I mean at this point we have 5 games left, so you miss time, you're probably missing most of that. But Jaguars are more than likely making the playoffs, so that means more games, so he may be able to come back. We don't really have a timetable on the severity of that one.
Yeah, I saw people talking, depending on what the exact injury is and the extent of the surgery, people were talking anywhere from like 3 weeks to 8 weeks, depending on what it is. And until
it's a core muscle injury, so
yeah, so I'm no expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I think you have to, if you're the Jaguars, you have to plan that he's not going to be there through this home run, this home stretch of the season. And guys like Parker Washington are gonna have to step up. And they did for a while. And I'm going to address it. And I'm just going to say, this is not an excuse. But it was odd. The holding penalty on that CJ Beathard throw to Calvin Ridley they hadn't called that all night. That's what was odd about it. Whether it was holding according to the rule books, it's not the reason the Jags lost. The defense is 100% the reason that the Jaguars lost. But it was very, I don't know, felt very out of the blue that all of a sudden that now is a holding. They had called holding, on some of the receivers throughout the game, right on the outside edges and in the secondary, but they hadn't really called any holding penalties on the interior, on the linemen, and it was just very out of the blue. And that was, and I know it didn't count. That was a beautiful catch by Calvin Ridley. It wasn't really necessarily a great throw by CJ Beathard, sort of a dangerous throw. Ridley's almost double covered there, and he just tosses it up. It was one of those, shoot, Ridley's out there somewhere and just chuck it downfield and see what happens. But that's, I don't know. I don't think CJ Beathard is going to do much to help the Jags win a game in the same way that Trevor Lawrence does. I think we're going to find out if the theory that people have talked about for a while, that Trevor Lawrence's play has made this offensive line look a lot better than it actually is. I think we're going to find out if that theory is true if CJ Beathard gets a couple of starts here, because CJ does not have the same skill set. And I'm not trying to dog on CJ Beathard, right? Like, obviously he can do things with the football that I could not dream of doing, but comparing him to Trevor, we're going to see how good that offensive line is with a quarterback of lesser skill behind them, making fast decisions, making throws. So I don't know. We'll see. What's your prediction for the Jags Browns game?
Can I make two predictions?
Sure. Why not?
If CJ Beathard plays, that's probably like a 17-14 win for the Browns. If Trevor plays, 17-14 win for the Jags.
Yeah. The Browns defense is good.
I don't see that being a high scoring game.
Yeah, especially if it's going to be wet. We all know, how how Trevor has performed in the rain sometimes. That worries me. Sure. Some of the fumbles, he's been fumble prone and in the rain. So we'll see. Yeah, I think the Browns are going to win if CJ Beathard, if he starts, and I think the Jags eke it out, just like you said. I think it's going to be very low scoring, wet, sort of a sloppy, old school football game, and hopefully the Jags find a way, but we'll see. All right, so I don't know. There's really much else to talk about other than Houston Rap has cursed my team and caused them to lose. And I don't care about anybody's opinions. Any final thoughts, fellas, before we wrap this one up?
I do want to go on record, as I have told Colts fans after the Browns game. I told Texans fans after the Jags game. Take care of business, and the refs don't matter. So There was some controversy with the refs, and I always said that if it was those game-changing type plays, it happens to the Jags, I will never blame the refs. The Jags 100% lost because of the defense. I'm not going to blame the refs. There were bad calls. That shit happens. Should have took care of business. Should have stopped somebody at some point during that game, because I don't think they punted, or maybe they punted once. So that's 100% on us. So I want to stand on that, because I said I would if it came down to the Jags being on the wrong end of the stick of a refereeing game. So I just want to get that out of the way.
All right. Yeah, I agree. Unlike Texans fans, sorry, Dylan, we are not going to we're not going to call the league office and say that the call needs to be reviewed. But honestly, it was a pretty cleanly officiated game up until that.
Yeah, that one pass interference in the beginning when the announcer was like, "I didn't really see much there," and the DB has his hand completely over Calvin Ridley's face. Yeah, I didn't see anything either. Yeah, neither did Calvin Ridley.
Totally legal to cover his eyes and ride him like a horse, right? That's a little book, sure.
Come.
All right, Chase, got any final words before we sign off?
No, I think I'm good. Just holidays are coming up. Everybody stay safe, stay warm, and have some good food and good family time.
Yep, I hope everyone stays safe, but I hope everyone's team other than the Jaguars loses. John Haw.
I'm excited for next year.
Oh man, listen, can I just say briefly that it's very, very fun as a Jaguars fan to not be in that mode already this year, right? Like, I don't know where we are in the draft order, and I don't know who's going to be available for the Jaguars to draft. And right now, I do not care. I just don't care. All right, Dylan, since I'm going to give you sort of the last final word here, since you're rarely on the show, and we appreciate you filling in for Matt Briggs. Any final thoughts on the Texans or anything else?
Yeah, man. I'm happy to be here. Like I said earlier, it's going to be an exciting few weeks as it dwindles down. I think we're going to have a good shot of having 3 teams in the playoffs from our division. Like Chase said earlier, week 18 should be interesting. Titans get to play spoiler a little bit. They got to play the Texans twice. I think they have another divisional game in there, maybe. They could play spoiler, so it should be exciting, at least for 3 of our teams.
Yeah, at least for. Oh, all right. Well, that ends another episode of the AFC South Fan Battle podcast. Make sure to check out our network shows that cover all the different teams: Jaguars Fan Battle, Horseshoe Mob, Texans Fan Battle. We have Longhorn Fan Battle. We have so many. Go to fanbattlesports.com. You can check out all of our shows, all the articles that we write. And as always, we'll just end the show with our tradition as it is, and let everyone know that Sam still, in fact, loves Jalen Ramsey.